Hello everyone, this is your cruise director Kristen, and welcome to a twofer episode featuring two very different malls in North Carolina, Asian Corner Mall in Charlotte and Mayberry Mall in Mount Airy. The first one we'll visit is Asian Corner Mall, a mall I wasn't entirely sure I'd be able to get into. It was announced in the local news they intended to close on December 31st, 2022. However, I was here on the first week of January and managed to just walk in. There were a few businesses open inside the mall that did not have an exterior entrance, a nail tech school, a computer repair place, and the banh mi shop you see off to the right, which seemed to be doing a brisk lunch hour. This was a really strange mall to walk around in. It's obviously quite small. The single corridor is basically all there is to it, and it's about 200,000 square feet, but it's definitely colorful and like any mall I've been to before. It would have been really cool to see it full of life and activity and to look around all these stores when they were open. Asian Corner Mall opened as Tryon Mall in 1968. Tryon Mall was a conventional standard mall with offerings typical for a mall its size at the time. It was anchored by Woolco, an A&P supermarket, and a location of a local department store called the Collins Company. And it may be an early example of a mall dying. By 1982, they were undergoing their first remodel, and news reports of the day state that the occupancy was around 80%, which was doing pretty well now, but this was 1982, the golden age of the mall, in a time when they were building malls at a breakneck pace. It would have been very rare indeed to hear of one failing. The mall was purchased by a businessman who had recently moved to the area, and while inside the only 14-year-old mall, he noticed some areas of neglect and thought he could do better. And so he did, replacing the floors, adding 2 fountains, and giving the entire place a well-intentioned makeover. By the early 90s, it was obvious that it may not have been possible to preserve the mall as it was currently configured. It was around this time that Charlotte started gaining some big super regional centers, and tiny Tryon Mall with its sundry offerings couldn't keep up. And that wasn't the only issue either. In 1991, a branch of the local library that had been open since a year after the mall opened closed its doors, citing safety concerns due to rising crime. This does not appear to have been solely perception either. The local paper reported that during the same 11-month period of time in 1991, Tryon Mall experienced 193 crime incidents, and a similarly sized mall across town called Cotswolds Mall experienced only 67. So there was 3 times as much crime here as their competition, which, I mean, fair enough, that doesn't seem like a great situation. So if people weren't going to come to Woolco or the supermarket or the library, what to do with the building? Specialization can work for a lot of malls. If you can't be something for everyone, how about being everything to someone? People are more likely to visit a place they feel connection to, that makes it feel like it's for you. So the mall was reconfigured as Asian Corner Mall, which, based on the name, you can obviously ascertain that the mall specialized in Asian-owned and Asian-centric businesses from all over the continent, and offering everything from travel agents to groceries to those awesome banh mi sandwiches. In 2018, a local coalition of Asian American business owners and citizens even started a community center in the mall. Over the last several years, businesses have moved out of the mall to other locations, and like many malls, the pandemic wasn't kind to this place. By 2022, there were not only occupancy issues that had started several years prior, but there were also maintenance and structural issues as well. In October of last year, it was announced that the large grocery store in the mall would be closing at the end of the year, and that 40% of the mall had been purchased by a Charlotte developer who intends to make this, you guessed it, a mixed-use sort of property. There's a light rail line that runs directly behind the mall, and I think the promise of an easy commute means that there may be a residential component to the revitalization. On January 24th of this year, about a week after I was there, the mall was closed by the fire department due to unseasonably cold temperatures causing a pipe to burst and the sprinkler system to cease functioning. It was very cold on the day I was here, and it was extremely cold inside the mall. I had my coat on the entire time. I don't think they had any of the heat on, but that makes some sense. As you can see, it was almost under construction at the time. I have good news, though. The last business left, the Banh Mi store, reopened this spring in a new location nearby, which is great news because I saw they'd been open here since 2005. So here's to 18 more successful years, folks. I'm very curious to check in on this place in a year or 2 years and see what they've done with it. But in the meantime, we're just going to have to wait. On to the next adventure. Is that what we're calling it? Mayberry Mall of Mount Airy, North Carolina these days is not a whole lot to look at in terms of aesthetics. In fact, I almost didn't end up releasing the footage at all because this is a freshly remodeled mall that they've gone out of their way to make modern and have a lot of utility. It was also crazy busy because of this Amazon bin store that just opened. Other than this new business, there is a Hallmark on its way to closing that's been here since shortly after the mall opened, a cell phone and accessory store, and that's basically it for inline tenants. All the anchors are full, though. Belk, Hobby Lobby, and an absolutely massive former JCPenney turned shoe department are all in the former anchors. Mayberry Mall opened in 1968 and was named for the 8-year-old fictional town of Mayberry, North Carolina that appeared on the TV show named for Mount Airy's most famous son, Andy Griffith, something the town is quite proud of and makes Mount Airy a popular stop for tourists. When it opened, the mall was anchored by Grant City, which is a discount department store, and Winn-Dixie grocery store. It was 130,000 square feet, which by modern standards is quite small. However, what I've read said that most of the locals were overjoyed to not have to drive all the way to Winston-Salem to go shopping. 50,000 additional feet of inline shopping were added, along with the Belk location that still remains to this day in 1970. The mall's first remodel happened in 1988, adding a JCPenney that moved from the store's downtown location out to the mall in a newly built space attached to the front, and covering the mall's interior in a very on-trend sheath of white tile and geometric skylights. The look of the 1988 remodel remained until, well, to quote Mount Airy News in January 2023, Mayberry Mall eventually fell into the hands of a New York owner and into disrepair. This is the part where I wish I wasn't uttering this guy's name again, but that New York owner was none other than, you guessed it, Mike Cohen and his merry band of retail slumlords. You guys know I don't really make a habit of being negative in my videos because it's not really my style, but sometimes you can't help it, and this guy is just not doing great things to the malls he owns. To put it a different way, he's not really doing anything to the malls he owns. Local press was quite optimistic in 2017 when they found out a new owner was coming to Mayberry Mall, one with big promises of revitalization. To be fair, in 2017, we didn't really know what we know now, and that company had not developed the dismal reputation that it has today. By early 2018, code inspectors were so incensed by the condition of the mall that they issued an order to vacate and threatened to shut the mall's utilities off until repairs had been made to the leaking roof. The roof was bad enough for the fire department to worry someone was going to get electrocuted, and Cohen's response was to put the mall back on the market and do nothing, having owned the mall for less than a year, which is pretty typical. But the good news is in 2019, the mall was purchased by its current owners, WRS Incorporated, which is a firm located in North Carolina. They repaired the roof and completely redid the interior. And after years of neglect, it's gotta be nice, if you're a regular visitor, to see this place looking clean and fresh. There really wasn't any way to wash the taste out of everyone's mouth about the gross condition it was in before without a complete overhaul, so I get it. I'm not mad at them, and it's obvious they're trying to do right by the town. Thanks for watching as always. If you made it here, drop a like and subscribe. As always, I'm your cruise director, Kristen, and this is UniComm Productions. We'll see you next time.